I guess we're going to go ahead and get started. I just want to quickly introduce our speaker. My name is Mark Leary, and my company is Serenity Systems. I've been a ConnectWise partner for 6 years, I think. I've been a Microsoft partner for over 10 years. And I like a lot of you folks, have been involved with ConnectWise programs, with Microsoft programs. And I've grown, I'll say, a little cynical through the years. And I know, BJ, you probably shared the sentiment. I've heard you speak before. And the cynicism and frustration with working with routine programs and that kind of thing. So I've been through sales training, marketing programs, ready-to-go campaigns, and all that stuff that kind of gets puked out by the big machines and all that. So I was just kind of open to some new marketing ideas for my business, kind of reinventing using social and some other things. And I just got one of those random emails from Microsoft to get plugged into this program called Champions Never Stop Marketing. And I just kind of absentmindedly just kind of clicked in and said, maybe I'll learn something from this. And that's when I got plugged in and met Jeremy. And I'll tell you, who here already knows Jeremy? Anybody know Jeremy? Just not that many people, so get ready. So excellent. So I'll keep this real short. The thing that really makes me appreciate Jeremy is that despite the fact he had 6 years at Microsoft, he's escaped the gravitational pull, and he has his own brain back. And not only that, he's ready to challenge and be disruptive and be audacious and say things that make people upset, and it's very memorable. And it very much appeals to me to do risky, fun things that are memorable and exciting and make me enjoy the act of marketing and communicating very authentically. So with that, I'll give it up to our Never Start Marketing champion, Jeremy Epstein.
Thank you. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, that's a tough visual situation. I would agree with you. I guess you could just, the podium's in the way. Well, then not anymore. Got to be customer focused. Something's not going to end well with this. Okay, permission to begin. Thank you. I would like to start today with a little bit of a history lesson. I was a history major in college, and I want to introduce you, or potentially reintroduce you, if you are a history buff as I am, to Johannes Gutenberg. Yeah, anyone? There were some people awake in high school history. That's fantastic. So Gutenberg lived in Germany in the late 1400s. He lived in a city called Mainz, actually. And Gutenberg is most famous for the invention of the printing press. The only thing is, he didn't actually invent the printing press. What he invented was something called movable type. And what that did is it changed the dynamics of the publishing industry because it allowed printers to move common words and phrases around on their printing beds and significantly increased the speed at which publications could come off of those presses. If you look in Wikipedia, you'll see that the entry under Gutenberg says that this could be the most significant invention of the modern era. So pretty big deal. Now, I would imagine when Gutenberg made this invention that there were 3 types of reactions. The first type of reaction was kind of predictable. Whoa, we don't want all of this information getting out to the people, right? The second one said, hey, great, we can print stuff cheaply. We can increase reach. But it's the third type of person that I want you to think about, and it's the third type of person I'm asking you to be. The third type of person is the one who said, wait a second, now, because of this invention, hundreds of thousands, millions of people are going to be exposed to and be able to consume the ideas of people they've never met before. That could change the dynamics of how society and civilization evolves and which ideas take hold and which ones don't. And that is exactly what happened. The history buffs in the room will know that it was because of Gutenberg's invention that Martin Luther was able to disseminate his famous 95 Theses, challenging the dominance of the Catholic Church and ultimately leading to the Protestant Reformation. Pretty big deal. So what I really want to focus on is the difference between the tools and the implication of the arrival of those tools. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the tools. Use them all the time. A key part of driving business for me, no question. But it's the implication of these tools that are significant. The tools that are going to change, you guys have seen it, you'll continue to see it. It's the implication of the arrival of those tools. Now, Look at what happened in the Arab Spring last year, Occupy Wall Street, the riots in London, arguably what happened last night in Penn State. All of these things are only possible because of the arrival of these tools. By the end of this year, there will be close to 1.9 billion people on the internet. There will be close to 6 billion mobile devices. And each of them can talk to every other one in the network at a marginal cost of basically zero. That's a huge shift in the way that ideas are spread, in the way that communication happens. You guys know this, but we have to think about our businesses and our marketings, our societies from this framework. So I see three sort of macro forces that have evolved as a result of the arrival of these tools, and we need to keep these forces in mind as we go about our daily business and our daily citizen activities. The first is what I like to call the attention economy. There's a Nobel laureate. His name is Herbert Simon, and obviously when you win the Nobel Prize, you've done a lot of things. But in this particular case, what Dr. Simon said is that every abundance creates a new scarcity. So you can apply this in many, many different ways. Let's say you have an abundance of cheap gasoline, which we used to have, but we don't have anymore. But let's say you have an abundance of cheap gasoline. You have a scarcity of roads without congestion, right? So you can apply this to supermarkets, shelves, what have you. But I want you guys to think about it in terms of channels of communication. We talked about all the people online, but think about all the channels each of us now have. I mean, I alone have, 2 blogs, multiple email accounts, Facebook fan page, Facebook groups, Facebook profile, LinkedIn page, LinkedIn group, YouTube profile, YouTube company page. I probably have 17 channels myself, right? Scale that out into the billions of people online, and you have billions and billions of channels. So what becomes the most valuable commodity in that world? Attention. Every 7 seconds, and I used to just say 7 seconds because I thought it sounded really good, but I actually discovered it's relatively true. Every 7 seconds, you are asking yourself, is this the best use of my time? Because if the PowerPoint is another death by a PowerPoint, what are you going to do? You pull out your phone, you do the email prayer under the desk, or you start checking Facebook or whatever, right? There are billions of other channels that you could be paying attention to. If this is not the single most exciting, engaging, dynamic thing that you could be doing at this moment, you won't be doing it. Think about how you watch television now if you're not using your DVR, which we'll get to in a second, right? My 5-year-old flips through like this, 7 seconds, 7 seconds, 7 seconds, right? That's the attention economy. So when one of you is checking your phone and emailing back at the office, that's not a reflection on you being rude, although you might be rude. It's a reflection on my inability to maintain your attention. And that's my challenge for the next hour. But that's nothing compared to the challenge that each of you have every single day with every one of your customers, every one of your prospects, every one of your employees, every one of your partners, every one of your vendors, you name it, they're all faced with this attention economy. I've been traveling around the world last year. I'm the lead instructor for Microsoft for their digital and social marketing trainings. And I'll tell you one thing is that whether you're on the subway in Beijing or Moscow or Sao Paulo or Santiago, everyone is doing the exact same thing. They're all staring at their phones, but nobody's looking at the exact same thing, right? It's just not happening. It's this billion channel universe, and that's number one, the attention economy. You have to think, do I have your attention now? How do I keep earning it in the next 7 seconds? The second thing, we're going to do a quick interactive portion for this moment. Please raise your hand if you have ever used your cell phone caller ID to not take a phone call. Liar. Everybody's done it, right? You now have more ways than ever before to block out unwanted messages from people you've never heard of, right? You can use your caller ID. You can use your TiVo, your DVR, your Windows Media Center if you're really geeky like I am, right? You can put people on, another email from, the ConnectWise guys. Let's put that on the junk mail, right? You can defriend people on Facebook. Now you don't have that awkward moment of unfriending them. You can just hide their status updates, right? As a DC native, I call that the line item veto, right? Unfollow people on Twitter. Our good friends over at Google Voice, they allow you to block people down to the individual phone number. I don't get a missed call. I don't get a voicemail. It's like the phone call never happened, right? Which is great for me as an individual. I can build this wall of protection around me, deciding who gets in and who doesn't. And if you don't have permission, you're not getting in. But as a marketer, and I like to say we're all marketers, it's just that some of us know it, as a marketer, our job is to go to find people who've never heard of us and build those relationships, right? So how do these two things come in conflict? Well, that's the second macro force we have to keep in mind. The third force, without saying his name, ridiculous reach of individual, does anybody recognize this person? Well, the part about without saying his name, was that? I guess that wasn't clear, sorry. We'll work on that. Okay, so yes, thank you, gentlemen in the back who are overeager, type, which we love. The company's called Never Stop Marketing, so we do appreciate that type of thing. Yes, this is Guy Kawasaki. For those of you who don't know, and there's no shame in not knowing, because that's part of the point of the story, Guy Kawasaki, for many years, was the lead evangelist for Apple Macintosh computer. Now he's a venture capitalist in Silicon Valley, all that good stuff. So Guy Kawasaki puts out a little tweet as follows. Very cool. Can you see it over there, my friend? Close enough. These guys are having a hard time. It's tough. We'll have to turn that. Here, I'll just turn this. You can look at it from here. The video is not so quality there. So Guy Kawasaki puts out a tweet that says, basically, check on this PDF, right? Now, he happened to be talking about my ebook. Fantastic, right? 2 weeks later, you guys have all heard of this one, right? Just making sure. They used to be really important, but not so much anymore. The New York Times. The lead story, and I feel sorry for you guys over there, so just for that, I'm going to give you guys some lip butter. There you go. Yeah. All right, one more. There you go, for your wife. Unless that's your wife, in which case you guys can, and if it's not, then I don't even want to know. So the lead story in the Saturday online and print edition of the business section of the New York Times was about my company. Fantastic, right? PR person's dream. Here's what's interesting. The net increase in website traffic from Guy Kawasaki's tweet and the New York Times, exactly the same. Exactly the same. Thanks for that raised eyebrow. You also get some lip butter for that one. That was great. I hope you can catch, too. Oh, that wasn't so good. Anyway, exactly the same. One guy, literally, could generate as much reach and awareness as the New York Times. That's ridiculous. If that doesn't blow your mind, leave now. The rest of the hour is going to be boring, right? And I don't know about you. I've never put out a newspaper, but I'm pretty sure it costs more than zero to do it, which is how much Guy Kawasaki paid. So, does what increase more than zero?
You said they're equal, but what were they? The increase
I said the net increase of website traffic to my website was exactly the same between Guy Kawasaki's link and the New York Times publishing me on their business section online and print.
And what was that increase?
You want percentage numbers?
I'm sure you did a good analysis.
I did a good number. Well, over regular? I could just make up a number. What are you going to know? Like 227%. Yeah, exactly. 347.62%. Exactly. So, given these arrival of these forces, what do we do? I think there are three things we have to absolutely do. Every single company has to do these three. Number one is you need to be crystal clear on what is the core idea for your business. Why do you exist? Why should people care? And I'll give you a hint. It's not about you making your profit. As your customer, couldn't care less about what your revenue goals are. I care about why you do what you do. The second thing you have to think about is the culture of marketing in your organization. Peter Drucker basically said marketing is almost too important to be left to the marketers alone. Everybody's in marketing. He also said there are only two things that drive a company forward in terms of profitability: innovation and marketing, right? So why would you not put everyone into innovation and not put everyone into marketing, right? Those are two things. And the third thing is focusing on a community of people who share a common belief and a common passion for the core idea, for the reason that you exist. Now, when I talk about community, I don't just mean your customers. I don't just mean your prospects. I mean anyone with whom you come in contact. Anyone who ever has anything to do with you, your organization, is a member, strong or weak, of your community. So let's talk about why community is so important given the arrival of these tools. We had a little technical glitch before, so I can't do like the fancy, all of a sudden it starts playing. But I want to share with you a video explaining why the community is so important. So,
if you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. he publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. See, it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is overglorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
And when we start embracing the members of our community, as lone nut as they may be, they are the ones who start doing the targeting for us. How do I find these new customers? How do I find these new prospects? Given this world of attention, I can't get their attention. Given this world of permission, I can't break through all the clutter, right? Well, what I do then is I find my community members, give them reasons to talk about this, and let them go out and bring in those other followers for us. In your case, potential new customers, new partners, new vendors. And the beautiful thing about giving them the ability to target and giving them reason to talk is we all walk around now with these super high-powered word-of-mouth machines on our hips all over us. We got 16,000 of them in this room alone, right? You see something remarkable, you see something worth talking about, you could do it. And you can do it at the Guy Kawasaki marginal cost of basically zero. The value of word of mouth is something we can't underestimate. For so many years, we were all born into this era where you thought, oh, it's broadcast. It's sort of like this mass marketing machine. But if you go back 100 years, what did we have, right? Your grandparents walked down in the market. They talked to their people who they know, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, what have you. And what was it? It was social networks and word of mouth. Now we're coming back to that era with the big difference, of course, of scale and reach and cost. But it's basically people talking with people in their network, sharing things that they either like or don't like about the companies and the people that they do business. Word of mouth is a huge driver. And interestingly enough, 90% of word of mouth brand-related conversations actually take place offline. So most of the stuff, we think all this stuff is happening in social. It's not. It's all of these things combined. And we have to think holistically. It's not just about the tools. It's about the implications of the arrival of our tools. So our job, our single most important job from a marketing perspective, arguably from an entire business perspective, is to go out, create, and keep those raving fans, the people who are so passionate. And passion, obviously, there's a scale. I call it the passionometer. They're so passionate about the things that you do, the service that you delivered, the experience that you've done. Just listening to people talk about their experience at ConnectWise shows me there are a lot of raving fans for this organization, which is fantastic, right? Go out and find those people, create and keep them, because those people, when empowered and when you give them a reason to go out and spread the word, they will do the targeting for you. They already have the attention of those people you're trying to reach. They already have the permission of the people you're trying to reach. So why not make it easy for them to go out and do it? A friend of mine did a back of the envelope calculation, and let's say even he's half right, but he said one raving fan, one generally passionate person who believes in what you're doing. And I'm not always saying they're the shirtless dancing guy kind of passion, but they're excited, they believe it, they like what you're doing. That's worth 445 regular people. Again, let's say he's half right. Let's say he's only 10% right. That's still 45 people that it's worth. You have to start thinking, these people are so valuable to your marketing because of attention and permission and reach. I'm actually concerned the IRS is going to figure this out and start taxing me on my community because that would be a big problem, right? You don't want that. You want to focus on the people. The change is coming in terms of looking at our social networks as the filter through which we make our decisions. Right now it's already Bing and Facebook. Facebook's already being integrated to Bing, right? You've seen this. You've seen this. Google Plus is doing this exactly same thing right now. Your friends are giving you those clues about which sites they visited, which sites they like, what have you. So all that data is being integrated, and we look to that. There's a whole study of psychology around this that we look to our friends for clues about the decisions that we should make. They're just automating it. I'm just asking you to take that and play off of the natural tendency to do this. So I like to call it an entire framework for dealing with this community-driven marketing. Pretty straightforward because the community drives the marketing, right? So there are three components of this, and I'm going to suggest that you think about how you can implement them in your own business. The first, and the single most important part, of course, because without this it doesn't work, is you need to go out and identify your raving fans. Now, there's an online social component. You set up your listing post. You use the various tools, TweetDeck, whatever you're using to identify people who are talking about a company. That's definitely part of it. But part of it is the people who you know, the people who are already excited about the things that you're doing. In this particular case, there's a guy named Rob Markey. He heads up the consulting practice at Bain around something called the Net Promoter Score. So I happen to have read a book called about the Net Promoter Score, and then I blogged about how I used the Net Promoter Score to measure my own business. Then I shared it out on Twitter. Well, wouldn't you know, Rob Markey has a listening post that identifies people who use the term Net Promoter Score. So within minutes, he tweets me back, oh, I see you're talking about this, check out this video, which I then went to, saw a whole bunch of other things about Net Promoter Score that he had done, and all of a sudden, guess who owns the word Net Promoter Score in my mind? Rob Markey does, right? So that's one simple online example, but there are plenty of other ways to identify. So I honestly am advocating a list, ideally you have a central list, but if not, you have multiple places where you have the people who are important to you, the people who meet that threshold of, I believe in what you guys are doing. I'm so satisfied by the service you've delivered. I love how you've changed the way my company operates. Those are the people you want to know who they are. You want to know their birthdays, what favorite flavor of ice cream they are. Those are the people you want to identify, because without that attention that you want to get from everybody, there's no chance of you actually building a trusting relationship, right? If you don't have my attention, I'm never going to have the opportunity to trust you. And if I don't trust you, it's pretty unlikely that I'm actually going to buy from you. So we have to think about it in those terms. So what are some of the ways we can earn attention? These raving fans, they might be passionate, but they're still dealing with the same forces around attention that everybody else is. So they have 15 other people asking them. So what are the things that you can do programmatically to earn their attention? The first, I have a list of 10. I'm only going to share 5 of them with you today. It's a teaser kind of thing. I'll give you the rest later. The first one I want to share with you is something called Reed's Law. Has anyone heard of Reed's Law before? No, good, even better. So now I can make that up too, just like the stats on my website. So a little background, the foundational law for the internet era is something called Metcalfe's Law, right? So Metcalfe's Law basically says if I have a fax machine, that's good. But if James over here gets a fax machine, that gets better, and Chris over here gets better, and the value of that network grows exponentially. Okay. What Reed's Law says is that when you're talking about social networks, the value of the network changes at a different exponent. And the way that works is that the more connections you have in and among the nodes of the network, the more valuable that network is. So if I know James, great. If I know Chris, great. But if I know James and I know Chris and they know each other because of me, that's valuable. That's huge. You guys all sit as the hub to a whole world of people who are interested in very similar things. You know a lot about them from the business side, and you know a lot about them on the personal side. Your opportunity is to start forging those connections. That's exactly the summit we're at right now. That's basically what these guys are doing. It's what Microsoft does with their Worldwide Partner Conference, and what HTG does. So all the hat tips, all the yellow shirts in the room. That's what we're doing. So let me share with you an example, because it's easy for me to talk about in the obtuse. Let's share a specific example. So this is Steve Pastillo. Steve is a a Microsoft partner who lives in Connecticut. And he went through one of the programs I ran, one of the precursors, the one Mark talked about. And I said, you know what? You want to bring your customers and your prospects together in the same room and just let them talk. They don't come to hear your PowerPoint presentation. They want to go meet other people who have similar problems that they have. He's like, I don't know, my customers, I don't want them talking to prospects. Not everything goes perfectly all the time. I mean, I know it does for you guys, but not everybody has it like that. So I have these, I don't know. I said, look, try it. See what happens. One time won't kill you. He says, I'll do better. I'll do 2. I'll do a morning event in Farmington, Connecticut, and an evening event in Hartford or wherever it was. No offense to any Connecticut people in the room. In that day, he said, is the 2 best events he ever ran. 13 leads, 1,459 seats created, and all of them converted to net new customers. And he said he'd never experienced an event like that his entire life because the authenticity of the experience, of people feeling comfortable to talk about the issues they were facing, being brought together by Steve, said, we can trust Steve because Steve's not here to ram some solution down our throat. Steve's here to be that trusted advisor that we all want to be. And the way he's going to show everybody that he really wants to be a trusted advisor is by not having anything to hide. So you guys have all these issues? Great. Let's talk about them together. That mere fact alone allowed them to feel comfortable with Steve as their guy. And they said, you know what? I hear it. I've heard other people talk about it. Let's go ahead and do it. Second thing I want to share with you is the importance of understanding core motivation. What is it? Now, it seems on the surface that we're all motivated by money, but the science really disproves that, and actually, if you think about it, it's probably not true for a lot of things that you guys do yourself. In fact, up to a certain point, obviously, you need to cover your bases, but above that, there are 3 things that really motivate people. Number 1 is autonomy. Number 2 is mastery, and number 3 is purpose, right? I want to have some degree of self-control, I want to be viewed as an expert, and I want to do something that's bigger than myself, ultimately. So this is Pedro Aguayo Jr. He lives in Sao Paulo, Brazil. He's the IT director for Carrefour, Brazil. And he runs 20 warehouses that supply 700 stores all throughout Brazil. He's got a $22 million annual IT budget. So I met him through some friends or what have you, and we're sitting in the Microsoft office in Brazil. And he said, hey, Jeremy, I'm buying a new data warehousing system. I was like, great, fantastic. Are you buying it from these guys? He's like, no. I said, really? Why not? He goes, when the Microsoft guys came in, you know what they did? All they did was talk about features and functionality of SQL Server. He's like, I don't care about SQL Server. You know what I care about? I was like, what? What I care about is looking out over the universe of data that I control, and it's a lot of data, and basically seeing this calm lake where everything sort of flows. I want to know that they're running out of T-shirts in Rio and they need cereal in Sao Paulo and they got the trucks moving. It's like this beautiful image. That's why I do what I do. And when the Oracle guys came in, you know what they talked about? They talked about that future. They talked about that vision. He's like, I know that part of it's their sales thing, but he's like, that's what they told me they believe in, and they backed it up with facts. Microsoft said, here are the facts. And they never came in with the emotion. They didn't understand what really motivated me as a buyer. So I'm suggesting, I'm intensely advocating that you spend some time asking these fans that you've now identified, what is your core motivation for doing whatever it is that you're doing with us or in general? What are those core motivations? The 3 things I mentioned, autonomy, mastery, and purpose, you can pick them up in a great book by Dan Pink, who's a client of mine. It's called Drive. Goes into all the science behind this, but I think it's something worth investigating. There are plenty of ways. Obviously, you can just ask people. You can put up Facebook fan page polls. You can set up polls, surveys on Twitter. You can do evaluation forums at events. By the way, my Twitter is JER979, so feel free to tweet away. Unless it's really nasty, then hold it off till later. There are plenty of ways, but you have to rip back that layer of, oh, it's just about the money. Oh, it's just about the ROI. What is your core motivational reason for doing this? Has anyone read Drive here? All right. So because of that, here's Ralph Waldo Emerson's book, Self-Reliance. Well done. That'll be your next reading. Anyone here suffer from information overload? So Clay Shirky is a professor in New York University. He says actually nobody suffers from information overload. The problem is filter failure. The problem is filter failure. It's not having the right filters in place to make sure only the highest quality information gets to you. So your opportunity for these fans, once you've understood their core motivation, is to say, I'm going to be the content curator. Like an art museum has a curator. I got 5,000 pieces in the basement. I'm not going to show them all at one time. I'm going to pick the 10 that tell the best story today. So your opportunity, instead of saying, hey, read all the stuff that's about me, your opportunity to say, hey, I've culled through all the stuff going on around cloud or CRM or whatever the area of business you guys are in. These are the 3 things that you should know this week. You don't have to go anywhere else. I want to be, and you want to be, the front page for whatever it is, the most trusted name in news about whatever it is for your community. Then they'll be like, wow, well, that filter's much better now. I don't have to go anywhere else. These are the guys. This is my one-stop shop for information. And what happens? Because you're the one-stop shop for information, even if you're linking to other people and not even your own content, it doesn't matter. People say, wow, I can trust these guys. They're giving me high-quality information. I'm going to share this stuff with my friends because they don't have to go clicking through Bing and Google and all these other places to find the information. I've got it. It's all right here. And then you build that reservoir of trust, which we said is the precursor to driving revenue. So Richard Tubb, some of you may know. Anyone know Richard? He's kind of crazy. Yeah, insane. Oh, you know Richard? Fine. For that, you get a T-shirt. Good job. Just for knowing Richard. How do you know? He was lying. He was lying, but now he gets a T-shirt. That's like, oh, Tubb? Oh. There you go. For that, I should give you something else, but I'm not going to. So Richard lives in Birmingham, in the United Kingdom. And Richard said, you know what? I'm going to try to be a content curator for my audience. My audience, you know, the people with technology, whatever, they're very concerned with how do I use these tools more productively. So he says, I'm going to devote 1 blog post a week where I don't talk about myself, I don't talk about our service offers, I'm going to change it and just focus on how can I help you better use the technology you already have. I don't want to sell you anything. I just want you to feel better about the stuff you already have. So he started doing this. While he started doing that, he was 5 or 6 weeks into it, he started an event series around, you know, it was at the time BPOS, of course, you know, it's Office 365, and put it out on LinkedIn and Twitter, what have you. Well, 4 people who were only his LinkedIn friends, you know, you just have those LinkedIn friends, they're like, you know, we're coming to your event. Really? Why? Because you've earned our trust so much by demonstrating that it's not just about you selling your stuff, that you're really trying to serve other people. You're trying to help us be better. So because of that, because you got my attention by doing something worth paying attention to, because you earned my trust, because you're not trying to just ram something down my throat, now I'm coming to an event with you, so you have the opportunity to earn revenue from me. And that's exactly what happened. All 4 of them became customers. I'll share another story. So this is Jeff Wasserstein. He works at a law firm in Washington, D.C. called Hyman, Phelps and McNamara. So what these guys specialize in is the intersection between the pharmaceutical industry, the FDA, and other types of regulatory agencies. You know, it's like food and drug law kind of stuff. There are like 5 people on the planet who care about this stuff, right? It's about as boring as it gets. So 4 years ago, Jeff said, you know what, I think we have an opportunity to be a content curator, to help all these people make sense of all these new rules and regulations, all these changes in our industry. You guys have the exact same thing, it's just not dealing with food and drug, right? So I'm going to start this blog. Now lawyers, these guys, you guys watch your billable hours, lawyers watch their billables, right? So Jeff and his partner, for the last 4 years, by their estimates, have invested over $200,000 in blogging. Now, what's the ROI on that? I don't know, but what I'll tell you is this. They recently hit their 1 millionth page view. They're the leading blog in their industry. They're frequently quoted in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. The associates at their competitors' firms have their blog as required reading. If you ask anybody in the industry who is the authority on this unique intersection of FDA, regulation, and pharma, there's only one answer. Because for 4 years, these guys have been doing it day in and day out, or like 4 times a week, but you get the point, right? They've been doing it constantly, consistently. We don't just do this to make a buck. We do this because we really, really care, and we're going to save you all this time. And people, over time, are like, this is the place to go. This is the one place where I want to go. On top of that, it's super critically important that our participation in whatever form has to be relevant and honest. The example I've been using for 3 years around what social media is and what the impact is, it's kind of like a dinner party, right? So if Ted over here were gracious enough to invite me to his house for dinner, when am I coming?
How about Monday?
All right, good. So for that, you get the Windows 7 stickers. Congratulations. I should really show some. So guys, yeah, I know. So guys, I have to tell you, normally I'm like a free range kind of organic chicken going across, but the video guys are like, do not go past the orange line. It's like there's like a doggy fence. So I'm sorry you guys aren't getting all the swag, but I'll see if I can throw it a little farther. All right.
They can have my Windows 7 stickers.
All right, fine. Well, then you can have the Windows Vista for Business. There you go. That's a collector's item, my friend. It is critically important that the dialogue we have be as relevant and honest as possible. So when Ted invites me over for dinner and after beats me over the head for giving him Windows Vista, and we sit down and he's got a whole bunch of his friends over there, and they're talking about the NBA lockout. If I sit down at his dinner table and say, "Hi, my name's Jeremy. I sell marketing consulting services. Who wants to buy?" What's going to happen? They're like, "Who is this guy, and what the hell is he doing in Ted's house? The Windows Vista was not enough to get you here, man." That same attitude is what's required of us in all of our interactions right now. We have to commit to the participation as relevant and as honest as possible, because otherwise we lose the trust. And you guys have seen thousands of examples. I don't need to go through all of them of where somebody tells something that's not true online, and what happens within days or weeks or some period of time, eventually you get busted. A classic example is what happened in Nestle. Has anyone heard the Nestle Kit Kat story? Good, even better. I can make this up too. So Nestle allegedly was cutting down rare palm trees in Indonesia, and these palm trees were were processed for the palm oil that was going to be placed into Kit Kats. So the Greenpeace activist community didn't really appreciate this so much, so they launched a full frontal assault on the Kit Kat Facebook fan page. That's bad, but where it got worse is the way that Kit Kat responded. Because what Kit Kat did is, instead of trying to engage in a dialogue, and instead of trying to say, all right, you know what, I see you have an issue, let's talk about it over here, or I see your concerns, here's what we're doing about it, here's how we want to work with you, they tried to shut it down. Deleting comments, removing people, and what happens? That just inflamed people even more. Like, you're trying to deny the conversation. Now, it's one thing when I come to Ted's house and I have a disagreement with him about how the NBA lockout should be resolved or who should win the Republican presidential primary, whatever, that kind of thing. That's legitimate discourse. Now, if I walk in his house and be like, man, your food's terrible and your wife's ugly, I think Ted would have every reason to be like, see, there's a door, walk through it, right? So there is that line, that same line approach is you have to think about the relevant, honest participation. So Matt Katzer is a Microsoft partner. He works for a company called Kmine out in Portland. And about 7 months ago, he was moving his whole company to Office 365. And he was part of a LinkedIn group of people who were sort of thinking about the cloud and all this stuff. And he said, you know what, I'm going to basically live blog the transition of my company to the cloud on LinkedIn, which would have been great if everything had gone smoothly. But he was without email. His whole company was without email for a week. Yeah, right. It was like, I don't care if they're on life support, but no email. Oh, my God, right? I hear you, man. I hear you. It's a problem. So he's blogging about that, and he keeps blogging about it. He's like, yeah, we found this weird kind of domain. I don't even understand all the details, like domain archiving kind of thing. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Eventually, they got it resolved. But you know what happened? Is the people in his LinkedIn group said, wow, Matt, you don't have anything to hide, man. We really appreciate the fact that you've sort of led the way for us. You've shown us what the problems are, what the challenge. We're all moving to the cloud. Everybody knows that. It's just a question of when. But what you've shown us is, A, you've already been there. You made all the mistakes on yourself. Now we trust you. 4 new customers simply from this LinkedIn group because they said, this guy, if he's telling us he's without an email for a week, clearly he's not just doing a dog and pony vaporware show, right? You don't do that. That's counterproductive. The next thing you have to think about with your community is you want to instill in them a reason to talk. Anyone can open a store at 8 o'clock and close it at 4 o'clock. The unexpected is what generates people's reasons to talk about. You want to ask yourself in any given scenario, what do people expect and what can I do to make this unexpected? Because if you meet expectations, why would you go tell your friends? No one forwards boring emails to their friends. No one shares boring stuff on Facebook. And if they do, what do? You block them, right? but people share unexpected. They share exciting things with their network. So you have to say, in every little moment that I have, how do I generate something that's unexpected so people have a reason to talk? This is Christina Bouvieri. She's the CEO of Reston Limo outside of Washington, D.C. So Christina, during the real dog days of the recession, saw her business drop by 27%. You know, she does like hired limos and car service and what have you. And so up until then, she'd been traditionally inviting, you know, her big clients out to select lunches at fancy restaurants and wining and dining them and all that stuff. She says, you know what? I'm going to try something different. I'm actually going to invite the administrative assistants, the people who actually make the reservations. I'm going to invite them to a fancy 5-star restaurant for lunch. We'll see what happens. Well, these people who showed up were floored, right? They never get invited to the fancy lunch. They always watch other people go to the fancy lunch. But what happened? Her business went up by, referral business by 72%. Because she said, these are my raving fans. They're the ones who keep calling me and booking my limo, not their bosses. Their bosses just, you know, authorize the PO or whatever. They're the ones who make it happen. If I give them an unexpected reason to talk about and to think about me and tell their friends about how great my service is, they're going to do it. That's exactly what happened. That's only part of it, though. We have to do these things programmatically, and then we have to figure out how do we activate the people? How do we make it easy for people to spread the word on our behalf? Now, this is super appropriate because we're here in the land of Disney. I used to tell people, for any Seth Godin fans in the room? Okay, so Godin walks around talking about be remarkable, right? And I love it. It's a great mantra. But after doing this for a few years and stealing, you know, totally open and honest, relevant and honest participation from Seth Godin, I realized that the be remarkable is a problem. Because when you tell people be remarkable, it's too daunting. You say be remarkable. It's like win the gold medal every single day. Gold medalists can't even do that, right? It's too overwhelming. So instead, I took a page out of the Disney playbook. In their book, Be Our Guest, they talk about how they used to go to their, their customer service representatives, and they'd say, you need to go above and beyond. You need to make every experience the most incredible, memorable thing ever for our guests. And you know what happened? People got really burned out and tired. It's too hard to do that. It's like asking your employees every day, above and beyond. We're going to take that hill all the time. Too much, right? Maybe you guys can, if you figured out how to do it, let me know. I haven't seen it happen. So what Disney instead did is they changed their mantra and they say, you know what? Don't have to worry about being remarkable and being like Superman. Just plus it up. Ask yourself, like we were just talking about, what is expected in this moment? And then do one little thing to plus it up. Because that plus it up will take the experience from, okay, satisfactory, what I expected, to, whoa, that caught me off guard. And when I have a reason to catch me off guard, oh, you're not going to believe what just happened at whatever. And this can happen whether you're Disney or all over the place. Now, people are like, oh, I work in this boring IT industry. I can't really do that kind of stuff. And my answer to that is wrong. Let me show you what a manufacturer of toilets in Germany did, to generate over 1 million views. That's the big finish, right? So, if these guys can do it, you can do it as well. Let me give you a couple examples. Most newsletters I get are horrific. Most newsletters you get are horrific. They're boring. It's like, hey, we're 5 years old. Like, I don't care, right? It's great that you're 5 years old, but I don't care. Unsubscribe. See you later. Junk mail, right? How often do you guys do that? All the time. My friend Adam Jacobson runs a consulting firm called Red3. And he's taken his entire thing. He's like, okay, I'm going to be the content curator. I'm going to be that most trusted name in data management, business intelligence for my clients in the financial services industry. But I'm going to do it in a unique way. I'm going to talk about it in a different context. I'm going to talk about it in context of ketchup or my wife's hat. And what did he do? He tells a story in his newsletter, right? You can take that approach. Now, we've all seen boring out-of-office messages. There's nothing really saying, I really feel bad for you guys. So for that, I'm going to have to give you this notebook. There you go. Enjoy. You can take notes because you can't see it. So you've seen boring out-of-office messages, but take a look at this out-of-office. What my friend Yannick did, here, I'll read it for you guys, is, I can read here. Thanks for the note. I'm currently off email until April 26th in order not to have a bazillion emails. Yes, this is a scientific number. I counted when I return. Your message has been deleted, but have no fear. If you need an immediate response, please email my rockstar assistant Chastity or just shoot me a note after April 26th. However, if you really need something urgently, text my cell phone or try bribing Chastity to find me. I hear she likes chocolate. So what happened with this out-of-office message? My friend Andy sent an email to Yannick. He's like, this is really clever, and I'm going to blog about this because I think it's really clever. Now, Andy happens to have a relatively popular blog, which led to 30,000 new visits to Yannick's website from an out-of-office message. What's the marketing ROI on that? A gajillion. Now, we're going to take a small break from our regularly scheduled program. I'm going to invite Mr. Tim Rettig up here. Tim, you need to get behind the orange because otherwise they shoot you or something. So Tim, like Mark, is a survivor. I would say alum, but really a survivor of one of my programs. And he actually had some good out-of-office message stories to tell. So Tim, lay some knowledge on them.
All right. Thank you, Jeremy. I took this to heart and have since started changing my out-of-office message every time that I go somewhere. So some of the things I've been able to get out of the little change that I made is I was able to get a meeting with a CIO from a $300 million a year company in Chicago. Because not necessarily that she saw my out-of-office message, but somebody in her organization had emailed me a technical question when I was away, and then he took my out-of-office message and forwarded it to her to say, hey, he's not available right now, but when he gets back, he'll get in touch with you. And she saw that out-of-office message that was attached to that, thought it was funny, and said, we need to talk when you get back. So I got a meeting with her, and I went to not necessarily a funny email message I sent out, but I had some meetings with Intel and Microsoft over a period of time, and what I did is put that on my out-of-office message, and I had 4 people in that period of time because I said I'm going to be talking about Microsoft and to Microsoft and Intel about their cloud strategies, and they emailed me and said, hey, when you get back, we want to talk. We've got some questions about what's going on with Microsoft and Office 365. So they saw, I just told them where I was going and what I was doing. So those are my little stories, and I'll get plenty of comments today. I think I got 3 comments about my out-of-office message that I have out there right now.
I think for that,
Do you use your out-of-office messages as a marketing tool when you're actually in the office?
Yes, kind of. When I have a whole day of meetings, I will say I'm out at meetings with these clients, and a lot of times if I'm going to a city that has something interesting, I'll say the interesting stuff about that client, not the city and what I'm talking about that day.
like
So,
the karaoke bar in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I went to a meeting in Minneapolis, and I said I'm staying in Minneapolis at the airport Marriott, the lavish.
Well known.
Yeah, and they feature in-room coffee and karaoke in the bar. And I had people that commented about that, like, wow, take pictures while you're there. I want to see that. I've always dreamed of going there. Just, I get some interaction with people, and it allows you to be remarkable.
I want to thank you for that, and you get a Chipotle gift card.
All right.
It's only got like $1 on it, though, so have fun. But yeah, I hope you're not hungry. But the point, I want to do one, I love what Tim said, and he's taken it to heart, and I think there are 2 things here. Number one is you cannot afford to sacrifice any moment of interaction with your community, no matter how small, where you have a realistic or a genuine chance to earn that attention and then create that word of mouth. I mean, the technical guy forwards it to the CIO. What more do you want, right? That's exactly what I'm talking about. And it doesn't have to be funny. I'm not saying you're not Jerry Seinfeld. I'm saying ask yourself, what does someone expect and how can I make this unexpected? There's a company down in Miami, they're in another program, I run a lot of programs, called Conquest 24/7. I don't know if you know those guys. he did an out-of-office message too, and he's basically like, yeah, I'm going to create the future of unified communications with blah, 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 blah. I don't remember all the details. One of his clients was like, what is this unified communications thing? Tell me more. $200,000 deal as a result of that conversation. Again, you're doing all this stuff anyway. You have voicemail messages, you have business cards. All of these things are stuff you do anyway. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You just have to think a little creative, like how do I take this from expected and make it unexpected? My classic example, I've told it a million times, and the few people who've seen this before, you guys are just going to have to bear with me because I love it, is this from my friend Joey. Very few of us, and this is like my point, is it's not just online, it's offline as well. So like you, in my career, I've received, 5,000, 6,000 business cards. Most of them are pretty boring. They're pretty expected, right? You don't really hold on to them as works of art. Maybe you have that monster pile on your desk, or you throw them all away. You're like, oh, if it's important enough, they'll call me, or oh, you're really type A and you put it into Outlook or CRM or whatever, you ConnectWise, and you're just awesome that way, right? But most of us are like, oh, this is great. So what my friend Joey realizes is that the business card is not an information transfer device. It's an opportunity to earn attention and create a story that gives people a reason to talk. So let's talk about this business card. The only one I've ever held on to. I actually now have 20 of them because he sent me a box, but just bear with me for a second. So this card is hard plastic, translucent blue. He writes on the back there in Sharpie where he met you. Those circles here on the bottom left, those are scratch-offs that tell you more about his company. Except for those of you who've seen this presentation before, because I know who you are and I will find you if you shout out the answer. How much do you think each card costs? 20 cents, $1.25. Do I hear $2? Who else? 50 cents. A nickel. What? 250. Well, I was going to go, who said 250? All right, you get the copy of Office Professional 2010. Sorry, man. If you don't want it, you can trade it for his Vista. Yeah, but I was going to insult your wife, so it kind of bounced out. $4. I know the guy who said 5, but I was going to give it $2.50, and I wanted to throw something that way anyway. So $4. And there was like a disclaimer on this presentation. Not everybody gets a gift. Okay, $4. Now again, the point of this presentation is not spend $4 on your business card. The point is not to sacrifice any moment. But let's talk about what happened with this business card. So I left it on my desk for a couple weeks, and I was like, wow, this guy is really different. He's got a story to tell. Joey, how'd you like to come in and talk to my team at Microsoft, do a brown bag presentation, on the whiteboard, brown bag, whiteboard, anyway, telling us what you do. He's like, yeah, sure, I'd love to. Comes in, does his whole thing. Then he puts on his website, I gave a presentation at Microsoft, which he had. Gets a call from business school at MIT, Sloan Business School. They say, hey, we saw you gave a presentation at Microsoft. He's like, yeah, I did. They're like, hey, how'd you like to come up to Boston and talk to our guys about what you're doing? He's like, oh, I'd love to. Great. Goes up to Boston, does his whole thing, meets a guy there, starts talking to him. 3 years later, he closes the deal for $500,000, all because I held on to his $4 business card. Now, again, it's not about spending $4 on a business card, although when you get $499,996 back, it starts making sense. The point is you don't want to sacrifice any of these opportunities. I got a call from the senior vice president at Johnson & Johnson, one of my clients. He said, Jeremy, I've been laughing so hard, I've been crying. I said, really? Why? He said, I was reading your invoice. I said, yeah. I said, well, Johnson & Johnson's payment terms are 45 days. I'm certainly not going to change that. He knows that. So writing payment terms 45 days, that's pretty expected. So I wrote something a little bit different. Your J&J. Can you guys see it? Your J&J whenever the hell you want, right? So the guy's like, Jeremy, I love this. It's the best invoice I've ever got in my entire life, okay? I just asked him for money, and he's like loving it. But what did he do? He went to 15 of his senior vice president colleagues. He's like, hey, look at this invoice. Look at what this guy did. And then he started telling him about what I had done for them. He's like, give this guy something to do so you can get an invoice like this, right? I mean, what would you pay to have 15 senior vice presidents at Johnson & Johnson get a 4-minute testimonial from one of your existing satisfied clients? I paid nothing. Nothing. That's my point. Marketing is not difficult if you just bake it into all the stuff you're doing anyway. It's when you're like, oh, I got to go do marketing now, that things become really, really difficult. It's a mindset. I wish I had like an Amazon link because I should make so much money off this. This arguably is the best business book I've ever read. okay? Every time I say it, everyone writes it down, then they go buy it, and I lose all the 4-cent Amazon commissions I would otherwise get. So go to my blog, just click on it there, please. All right, anyway. This book called Different by Young Mi Moon. She's a professor at Harvard Business School. It's not your standard marketing nonsense, dribble kind of stuff. I promise you, after 3 pages, if you're not like, this is the greatest book, you can call me and be like, Jeremy, you're a total moron. I'm pretty confident you're not going to say it. It's that good. The point is, it's about a mindset. It's a mindset of differentiation. It's a mindset of saying, look at all these moments. What is my brand all about? What's that identity all about? How do I inject those moments of difference when I connect people? How do I inject those moments when I curate the content? How do I inject those moments when I understand their motivation? When I do the stuff I do on a normal basis, how do I inject that differentiation so that people will have a reason to talk about it and spread it with their friends? And then if we do those things, we do everything we can to make it easy to share. You guys have all seen this. It's commonplace by now, but so many people don't do it. It drives me crazy. Embedding the social sharing links into this great content that you're curating. Embedding it into all the stuff that you're doing. Why not, right? I could click on your link, go to your website, copy your URL, paste it in a status update, and write something about it. Yeah. Or I could click one button and have everything, a message pre-populated, written by you, already for all persons. Like, oh, I'll tweet that. Done. Those are the things we have to get very disciplined in, because you're spending, and these aren't expensive, they aren't difficult, and they're not time consuming. And a critical thing is you have to, and it's painful how many people don't do this, is we have to reorient ourselves to think, where is that first interaction going to happen? More and more, that first interaction is on a mobile device, right? How does this render on it? How does this experience work on a mobile device? If you want me to click on a link to go register for your event and I'm on my tablet and your page doesn't format or I can't do anything or whatever, that is going to be an experience killer. I love the way you're nodding. For that, I throw you some lip butter. Oh, sorry, collateral damage. It happens sometimes. All right, here's another one because you got hit. Oh, God, I'm deflected. I'm running out of swag. I don't know what to do. Oh, here we go. Here we go. One more for you guys. There we go. Right on target. Okay. That 6 cups of espresso was a mistake. All right. So we're going to play a little bit of Family Feud right now. We're going to play this side against this side. This is your chance for redemption, folks. Ready? All right. The team's ready. So marketing used to be thinking about our target first. It's all about targeting. So what is marketing today? Somebody. What? Community. Very, very nice. Do I have anything for you? Yes, I do. Oh, awesome. Fantastic. All right, next one up. Marketing used to be about making these big bets, annual campaigns. This is a gimme. A lot of small bets, right? Is changing your out-of-office message a big bet? No, it's a little small bet if it doesn't work. If someone's like, this is stupid, fine, you fix it. It's not the end of the world, right? Next one up. Marketing used to be, what is it that you guys do? Think back, early triangle at the beginning. Phil, why you do it? Who said that? Nice one. All right, my friend. I think, oh, you're going to love this one. This is a bracelet. It's like one of those Lance Armstrong. I hope this makes it. Oh, sorry, curveball. My friend Sue Marks is a client. She's the CEO of a 250-person company in Brookfield, Wisconsin. It's called Pinstripe. She hands out that bracelet that says JFD on it because she wants all of her team to say, you know what? Go out, try things, make things that are unexpected. If they work, great. If they don't work, that's okay. We'll make it better. What is Nike's motto? So if you put an F after the just, it would be, that's exactly what she tells people to do. So there's your new mantra. I'm sorry I didn't get you the Windows Vista. I know you really wanted it. Okay, used to be about demographics. Anybody? All right, we're going to go with passionate communities. We want to find, I'd rather have one passionate person than 445 people in my target market. Those passionate people are the ones who will give you the attention. Those are the ones who will give you the permission, and those are the ones who will go out and do the targeting for you. Marketing used to be about customers. What? Marketing's not about customers anymore? Raving, who was that? Nice. Oh, the man next to Ted. Very nice. Yeah, you got the lip butter. Oh, by the way, the reason I'm handing out the lip butter is because the client, this is like the 30-second kind of, they don't even, I guess they give me this stuff for free. So it's a client of mine, the company's called Yes to Carrots. They make an organic line of vegetable extract based combined with Dead Sea Minerals cosmetics, okay? 2.5 years ago, they came to me, they're like, hey, we have these people who love our stuff. Can you help us market it? And being the entrepreneur, I was like, yeah, of course. And I was like, oh, now what do I do? So what we did is we started to do everything I shared with you guys, built a community, identified them, started cultivating them, giving them exclusive experiences, connecting with each other. We did a snapshot of these fans at the beginning, and 6 months later we did a snapshot. 72% of our community went to the store 1.2 times more often, average increase by 25% in the amount they purchased. And not only that, became our most effective brand ambassadors, doing house parties, like old school Tupperware stuff, for their friends who had never heard of Yes to Carrots. 100% conversion rate. Now, past performance is no indication of future, all that kind of stuff, but it generally works. Now, this company is in 30,000 stores worldwide. They're number 2 in their category in the US, and they just got picked up by Walmart. Is that all because of me? Of course it is. Last but not least, it used to be about messages. What do we got now? It's not about messages anymore. The implications of the arrival tool means it's swag. No. What? The right panel? The right channel? No, we're closing in, but we're not quite there. Close, we're so close. Messages implies one way. What else are we doing now? Ah! You get a used copy of Platinum Gotham Racing 3. Well done. But that means I liked it, so there you go. I'm just clearing out my Xbox file. All right. Conversation. Guys, we're not in the bullhorn broadcasting mentality anymore. We have to remember it's about the dialogue. So there's a whole bunch of more information for you to get, and you can get all of this stuff. Calculate the value of your raving fans. You can download the Never Stop Marketing iPhone app. That would be great. You can download all the white papers, the how to cultivate your fans, but this is not really a very friendly way of giving it to you, so I'm just going to give you that little short URL instead. I figured that'd be a little bit easier to do. But even that, what did I say to you guys about mobile is that it's all about the mobile experience. Why don't you just go scan that now with your tag readers or your QR lookup, and bang, you'll get it and you'll be done. Reducing the time to action. Sometimes I have to practice what I preach, but not very often. I'm out of swag. I don't know what to do now. Oh, I meant to follow the Twitter. Oh, nice. Some tweets there. Good stuff, folks. I love it. All right. Well, they say yes to tomatoes, not no to tomatoes. We say yes to the vegetables. If it's a vegetable, we're saying yes. It is the same. Yes to carrots, yes to cucumbers, yes to tomatoes, because the guy's British. They also have yes to eggplant, believe it or not. So, all right. I started. Hopefully we're on schedule. I didn't even look at Danielle. We're on schedule? Right? We're right. Well, we're finishing. This is the I started, now I'm finishing part. I started way back on our journey together with a history lesson. And I'm going to end with a history lesson. So in 1929, the Sears Roebuck Company sold $1 million worth of houses through the mail. You ordered your house through the Sears catalog. I've actually met 2 people who live in Sears houses. You got 750 pounds, a few in the room, nice. 750 pounds of lumber and a 700-page manual and all the other stuff, and you put together your own house, okay? $1 million, 1929, real money. After 1945, they hired a guy named General Robert Wood. He helped blow out the brand, 500 stores, the US and Canada. They were the kings. So much so, by 1969, they're like, wow, we need to tell everybody just how awesome we are, so we're going to build the world's largest building in Chicago, the Sears Tower. So while they started focusing on building their building, they started to not pay attention to some of the changing dynamics of the marketplace. More women getting into the workplace, greater amounts of disposable income, increasing move to suburbia. And while they were so busy building this monster tower, there were 3 small companies, you probably never heard of any of them, Kmart, Target, and Walmart, that said, hey, we can take advantage of this. And fast forward 40 years, I don't really need to tell you what happened with any of these guys. You, of course, know that Sears is bankrupt. They got bought by Kmart. It's not even called the Sears Tower. Does anyone know what it is called? The Willis Tower. Does anyone know who Willis is? No. Right? That's our moment. Right? This is the moment that you all have when it comes to marketing. You can keep doing all the stuff you thought that marketing was before the arrival of these tools. But if you buy into the belief that what happened with Gutenberg was a huge seismic shift, and the arrival of these tools is a huge seismic shift. You have no choice but to rethink the way you do your marketing. And marketing now is about finding your passionate customers, doing things that makes them more passionate, giving them a reason to be connected to you and go out and find their friends on your behalf. And of course, even though he was a raving anti-Semite, I have to say I do like this particular quote. So with that, I wish you all the best. I encourage you to never stop marketing. And I thank you guys for your attention, for your permission. There are all the bajillion ways to get in touch with me. We'll go back to the tag in a moment, but I want to thank the ConnectWise for giving me the opportunity